Okay, hello. Hello. I think you have had a very nice lunch, and I'm happy to announce, oh no, you might have heard in the last 2 days, we have our latest partner, IBM, and our Danish colleague, sales colleague in Denmark acquired the biggest Danish insurance company.
Most, yeah, second.
Second? Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it's
only
first.
the second.
Okay, second.
We have to try again then.
Yeah. We have to grow.
Which is represented by Elise and Christopher from IBM. They tell us about the project we did with IBM and Topdanmark. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. So this is not going to be a slide-heavy session. It's mostly going to be conversational. So hopefully that's interesting. And if you have questions or things you can't figure out what we're talking about, feel free to say something. A little bit about us first. I'm Christopher. I'm a big mainframe fan, which is good because I've been working with mainframes pretty much all my career in IBM. I have a broad technology background. I geek out in my free time. So I play around with all kinds of technologies, AI and containers and all kinds of self-hosted stuff in my home lab. I'm currently responsible for C hardware sales and in Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland. And then I also work with discovering and establishing partnerships with new partners. And in my private life, I sing barbershop. I can't spell barbershop apparently, but I do sing it. So this is so I sing with the chorus, and we won a gold medal this year, so we're happy about that. And I write funny stuff for Danish review shows, which is similar to cabaret, but not quite, like ensemble cabaret type things. Yeah. And I have an email that will be available if you click the deck. It's impossible to read, but it looked good.
Yeah, a little bit about me. Elise Bundgaard. I'm head of mainframe in the next largest insurance company in Denmark. I've been working with mainframe since I started almost. I left mainframe for a short period of time, but it found me again. And then I went to Poughkeepsie, and I lost my heart to the mainframe one more time. So I am responsible for the daily operation at Topdanmark, making the batch run, making sure that all our applications are up and running. And of course, the most important, we print a lot. Everybody says, no one prints today, but insurance company prints a lot. So I just recently got a head of print as well for the technical part. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about Topdanmark? Well, that's the next slide.
That's the next.
So.
I can say a little bit more about myself, but I'm not that funny as you are, and I'm not doing it. I'm a workaholic. I work the most of the time. I like food and wine and hygge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hygge is a thing. I think we've been trying to export it to Germany also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like someone starting writing books about that. It's a strange thing, but it's nice.
But it's good. So a little bit about Topdanmark. This year we are actually celebrating our 125th anniversary birthday. It's called birthday. So we started back in 1899. 1899. And we're going to have a huge party in the fall. So we are actually now, if we make a new of this one, we are the third. But if the little white piece just bought us.
This one.
And that makes us the next largest company again.
So this slice will combine with this slice, and that puts it at 20-something.
So we were actually an agriculture insurance company when we started. So we have every second agricultures in Denmark. So that's really good. And they're really happy for us. We have insurance sales agents who's taking care of the customers. And they also print because all the big industries in Denmark, they get a map full of papers. So we print and print and print. We have every sixth business, and we have every fourth of the private sector. And of course, we are now only a claim company. For 1 year, we had the life and pension as well, but we sold that to Nordea. So that was a little bit about Topdanmark. Anything else you want to know?
How many pages do you print fishing?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. I have to come back to that's a lot. KMD is actually doing the printing, and a lot of our customers, they don't have computers, so they will still get it on paper.
So for the ones who may not know that, KMD is a Danish a strategic outsourcing company. They have a very large print business. So essentially, I think at least in the Nordic countries, it tends to be that there's like one really large print provider. So in Denmark, that tends to be KMD. In Sweden, it's Strålfors.
Yeah.
So they do massive bulk printing, so handle a lot of the production print, I guess, for that. Let's take a little bit of a look at like what are the different components coming together for us to be here today.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk to this, or should I just?
I want to talk to this.
Okay.
I like this. So we outsourced the mainframe back in 2030. And that was also where we got the first print on the mainframe. But we took it back last year. We bought our own mainframe. So no more Kindle. And I got actually 2 z16s. And we had to go from Z15 to Z16, and we had to upgrade our print because it couldn't run on the old machine, which is not that old actually. Mm-hmm. So we chose zSystem because that was the best. And we are partnered up with IBM because we brought our own Z16, and that's why.
So IBM kind of gets in the middle of this because we are a partner with zSystems, and Topdanmark is our customer. It's your customer. So it's like we all hang out and do business with each other, which is nice. And I think we get to a good question here. It's like, why on earth do you want your own mainframe, and what is that thing?
This is my mainframe. Everybody today, my personal mainframe. Everybody, when I say the word mainframe, and I actually try to stop saying the word mainframe because it's just the best server in the world for some things. But it's really good. And this is the picture I took 1st of September when we got it into our new data center. So this was actually the first part that came into the new data center we just bought or leased. So this is the mainframe driving into the covers that they're going to fit into.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of an interesting, I don't know what if anyone has like an idea, a picture in their head. When you say, hey, I bought a mainframe, like, do you know what it is? I mean, some people tend to have these really old pictures, but...
Gray and big.
And it used to be that it was like a big American fridge that you would need to put into a data center. And then we released this generation essentially will fit into a standard 19-inch rack. This is a little bit of a hardware geek out. Just let me know if that gets too specific. But it will now fit into a standard data center on a standard cooling system. It's very easy. And the one that Elise bought is even smaller. So this is actually a complete mainframe. There's some I/O stuff that might be added to it. I think we added an I/O drawer to it. But essentially, this takes up pretty much as much space as a x86 server in a rack. And
we are running all our core systems on this machine. And that's a lot. We have 700,000 customers. Doesn't seem like much when we compare to Germany or Sweden, but we are only 6 million people in Denmark. So that's actually huge. And it's also here we have our print. So this
runs all the core systems and the printing.
Yeah.
On that footprint. I would say also like from a power perspective, like just I mean, this uses power like a really good toaster. Essentially, it's a 2 kilowatt power envelope for that. Right. So if you want to look at consolidation things, we'll get back to that a little bit later. But it's like this is a very efficient piece of machinery. But why 23? Why did you decide like now is the time for me to go and get the mainframe? And what did you want to get out of that?
We had to renew our contract with Kindle in December 23. So I saw an opportunity I went to Poughkeepsie back in
22.
22, yeah. And I saw the z16 and I said, I want that one. So I got back and said, oh, we are renewing this. So what can I do with it? Every time I put something on the zLinux, Kindle always said to me, no, we can't do that. You have to wait for other customers. So I got a new procurement guy and I went to him and said, I want my z16. And he said, I will get you that one. So one of the reasons is that we have all the old application. Management in Denmark, I don't know if it's the same in Germany, but when they look at hear about the mainframe, they say, oh, that's old. We need to close it down. We need to get rid of it. And that's correct when you look at their perspective. They're looking at the applications that are running on the mainframe, this ZOS application that was built in 80s, 90s, something. And they are old, they are still working, they are still driving, and they are still the core of the business. But they want to close it because they want to go to the cloud or everywhere else because they can scale. But you can also scale at a mainframe. But I actually, when we went to the z16, we needed to get the print with us. And I wasn't the owner of the print, that was in another department. And then they were like, yeah, that's just a print. Nobody cares about the print. Nobody knew that the print was running on the mainframe. So when I shifted to the z16, I had to shift the print as well. And the application, what do you call it? Componenter?
Components?
Opponents, thank you. The opponents didn't fit the z16. So we went to the market and said, we are in August, we need this, who can do this? And Steel System got through for us and said, we can do it. It's short time, but you came through for us. So thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and so, yeah, I think let's move. Yeah. That was a picture from the install day.
This was the team who installed the mainframe. And this is the 4 racks they are actually being put into.
And this may be the cleanest data center I've ever seen. It was just so literally we were the first pieces of equipment was the mainframe system and the DS8000, the disk system that was put in underneath this.
And this was the happiest day in my life. And the security guy that walked through us when we left the room said, oh, you're smiling all the time. I said, yes, I'm really happy. Oh, you can't have children in. Oh, yes, I have 4, but this is better. It doesn't complain.
So the thing I like about Elise is she has her priorities right. Yeah, just a little bit about the timeline.
Yeah, I recommended to the board that we needed to get the mainframe home, or we could do a lot of stuff with it. But our recommendation was that we took it back home. And in August, the management said, go do it. I said, oh, I need 9 months. But you got until December. So I went back, counted backwards, saying I need to be out of the mainframe 31st of December, 23. So I needed a date where I can go into production.
You need to be out of Kindle, not out of the mainframe, right?
Yeah, out of Kindle and onto the new mainframe. Mm-hmm. So you just interrupted my phone.
I'm sorry.
That happens, though. So December is one of the busiest months in the insurance. We have all the renewals, we have the year, end of year, and all that stuff is running in December. So December was a no-go. And then we have a release just before the 1st of December. So I ended up on the 18th of November. That was my release date. So I stood there the 1st of August and said, this is the time we have. And everybody said, no, you can't do it. And the prince said, we need a year. No, we have 10 weeks to do this. And we did it.
I think we signed the contract on August 12th and delivered. No,
1st of September, you delivered the mainframe.
We delivered 1st of September, which is the first day the new data center was open, which is why it kind of looks like this.
Yeah.
All right. And again, let's talk a little bit about why Seal Systems, because I think that's an important aspect of this conversation here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we had this running on the old mainframe, and we needed some new things. And there's not a lot of people that are doing this stuff in the world, so we actually just had 2. We could go to Seal System and their competition. And the competition, they didn't understand what we needed, and they didn't. There were a lot of problem with it. But Z16, they understood, and they took care of our needs and say, oh, we can do this and this. And Jan Olsen, who was supposed to be here today, said, we just called. I know this guy from Z16. He can just fix this. So everything got really good. And the system I got now is the best in class. So I am really happy. It's like Christopher said for 1.5 years a week ago in another conference, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. And this one doesn't squeak. So it's just there. And that is why we have the IT, just to make our life easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also maybe worth highlighting the fact that, and this is one of the new capabilities that's kind of showing up here in this collaboration between IBM and ZEAL also. I mean, you tend to come from a distributed background, so working on x86 servers, maybe with the big. There's a lot of SAP in the customer base, so x86, maybe Power somewhere. But actually, there's a lot of knowledge and competence inside of ZEAL Systems for all kinds of print things. And I think one of the things that we've been working to discover is also like what options are there for integrating what is sometimes called host print, so traditional COS output, and putting that into a solution like PLOSSYS and getting some new capabilities in terms of output management, not just printing, but actually going out and saying, hey, we can enable electronic workflows, we can do some of the portal stuff that I can't describe in detail because that's your business. But there are lots of ways of taking, if you go into a COS system in a clever way, and you capture the print streams and you add some information to that, some context to that, then you can actually integrate a system like PLOSSYS on a Linux running on the same hardware to then help you manage and get that digitalization up and running. So I think this also speaks to the competence of ZEAL Systems, which is something that is appreciated in this context. So a little bit about why the mainframe is important.
No, this is the infrastructure that's the important.
So sooner or later, your foundations are going to be important, right? This is the Tower of Pisa, if you don't recognize it. Famously not well built on foundations, but still standing somehow, which is interesting. So something must have been done right. But if you talk a little bit about so what role does the mainframe and printing play in your environment? Is it like what makes printing important or output important in context of insurance?
That is because we have all the health information about people. We have all the claims. We have a lot of stuff that's coming out when people get the policy or a deal or whatever. They get the paper, most of them. Someone get them in the email, but most of them want it on the paper, all the big ones. And what is important is that when you print, your print don't lay around so anybody can come and pick it up. If you're home sitting and working and you're printing and you are coming back to work, your workstation, the next day you can go out and you can get your print. Nobody else can take it because you just take your card, run it to the printer, and then it is always there. It's the most stable platform I ever seen. And what is really, really annoying is that the one we got now is actually faster than the old one, but nobody noticed because it still takes the same time to walk from your chair to the printer, but the print is there in milliseconds.
I think 7 times faster than the previous iteration, the previous solution. So, yeah. And I think this is also one of the cases where we find like some interesting value in this collaboration with IBM. So the C platform, the mainframe platform, comes out of business critical applications. That is where you run. It's where you keep your most important data. It's where you run your most critical transactions. It can integrate into any kind of modern workflow. You could do a full modern pipeline on it. You can have all the APIs you could dream of. You could do AI and inferencing if you wanted, but typically the applications are older, and a lot of the stuff is happening kind of maybe on other platforms, but it remains the source of data, the source of truth for a lot of the customer systems. And so when you have a business that doesn't actually work, if you don't have the papers to go and talk to your customers and demonstrate what you're doing, you can't have a system that goes down or where it doesn't work when you're on your way to Jutland to go to a sales meeting. So lots of mapping of characteristics there. Can you talk a little bit about the requirements you had to your print solution?
Yeah. We are printing everywhere. We are printing on a distributor, we are printing from the cloud, and we have a lot of application who is feeding the mainframe with data. But they are also having paper or things that they want to print from there. So we need to be able to print from Windows, we need to be able to print from all the servers. So pickup print is really important for us that it combines all the platforms that we have. So it's not like we have one system for the distributor and we have one for the mainframe. So we need only one system because otherwise we need two people to take care of it. So that's really important for us. Yeah.
And then there's something about a VDI image that I'm not really sure what means. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, that's because we choose another model. It's not normal in Denmark, and I don't know if it's normal in Germany. But we have VDIs, which is virtual machines. So you get an area when you plug in. So you only have a stupid machine that's only a facade.
It's a thin client.
Thin clients,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, that kind of thing.
It's a thin client. So we needed an image who could work with that as well. And that was a little module which Jan built, or Jan got someone to build, so that we were able to still keep printing from from our VDI small clients.
And I think I guess that's more of a generic use case of this, but essentially, when you're running in this setup, when you have like a Citrix server that is essentially a Windows server somewhere running a bunch of virtual clients. If they're all trying to print at the same time, you're going to have a bad time if you use the default spool systems of Windows, because it has a high CPU and I/O workload, which means it doesn't work well with the architecture. So this is a thin thing, and it offloads most of the pieces to the server side of the solution. And so the pickup print, apart from it being important and being unified, there's also some sensitive data aspects to that.
Yeah, all the GDPR are there because all the customers' names and what illness they have had and a lot of other stuff, where they live and which car they drive and how many claims that they have had. There's a lot of sensitive data there, so we have to protect. And in the old days, when I started, we printed and everybody printed. So you took what you thought were yours, maybe you got another side because one of them has printed in between. But that doesn't happen now. Now it's only your print, it's only you who sees it. So if we are in a landscape with 1,000 people sitting in the same office, no walls, it's really huge. And when you go to the printer, you can take everybody's print and you can see maybe there's the stuff about your neighbor that you're not supposed to see because you're not working in that department. So that it follows you and only you. That's really important for us. So it helped us with the GDPR thing. We didn't have to do a lot of other stuff than implement this system.
Yeah. All right. So
this is
the slide that originally Jan was supposed to speak to. I'll try to. I'm going to have Thomas just and Matthias help keep me honest here in terms of what's going on, right? So this is a Citrix, the VDI environment we talked about. This is the distributed office environments. I guess these are points to think about somewhere.
Essentially, these are sort of these are features you can find. You can find in PLOSSYS. So this is part of PLOSSYS.
This is part of the PLOSSYS
of the output engine.
Okay. Good. So yeah, I guess the scalability, we kind of have that like combination of the hardware and the software pieces. Virtualization, are you talking about the abstraction from the print queues in that part, or are you talking about like operating system virtualization in there? Because that's we're not entirely clear on that. But it does support a bunch of the pieces that aligns to the resilience and availability requires on the platform here. So if we look at the pieces, this is the mainframe. This is the COS system. That's the operating system we run on the platform. DB2 is the database. Kix is a transaction, the application server essentially that manages your transactions. It's kind of a cool product because it's one of the I think the only multi-language application servers you can run. So you can run COBOL or C or PL1 or Python or whatever you want to run, Java, and it will help you kind of govern that as different parts of your transactions. JES is the job something scheduler that will essentially handle output from these transactions when they generate print. IPS is a print, like it's where we pick up the print output, or it's not output, but what is it? It's generated in what format? What's coming out? What's coming out of this thing?
AFP or IBDS.
Yeah. And then we have the clever bit over here, which is put on an integrated facility for Linux. It's a really good example of IBM being horrible at naming sometimes. All that means is this is essentially just a processor core. It's a processor core that is set in a particular mode. We will set it cheaper for running Linux than we will set it for running COS. That's really all it is. So this is running on a single core in this system. So we have the output engine, we have the pull print component.
Encryption.
Sorry?
The encryption, very important.
Yes, encryption is happening inside of this before it goes to in and out. We have encryption. We don't have. This is not a hyperprotect installation.
No, not yet.
So right now this is just running a native Linux on an IFL, but we could take. I mean, if we want to go to the hyperprotect piece that Thomas was talking about earlier in the cloud deployment, we could do that also in an on-premise solution. So you take the same processor and you deploy this virtual appliance to it, and then it's all encrypted, it's all protected, and we're even deploying essentially the same code in there. So we just copy that into that container, and then it's protected to an even higher extent than it is today.
Yeah. Then
Anything we forgot here? Any questions to this bit?
you get to the result.
Yeah. Anything I missed or majorly misrepresented? Okay, that's good. So let's look at the results.
Yeah.
7 times faster than what you used to have. You get a no downtime print solution.
We never had a downtime on this print.
No. Administration, can you talk to that?
Yeah. It's instead of a lot of solution, it's a simple solution. That means that it's very easy to administrate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot to talk about.
It's not something you spend a lot of time on.
No,
because it works.
that's the problem, because there's nothing wrong with it, so nobody looks at it.
Well, it's not a problem. Nothing is wrong. Is it?
It is a problem.
It's kind of nice.
Because everybody should know this is really great, but everything's just running, so nobody notices. I think that's a problem.
That happens to our solutions all the time.
Yeah.
We actually thought that we could just drag the plug, see what happens, and say, oh, we exist.
Yeah, it tends to be like, so really well-designed IT tends to be like tap water. No one really thinks about it until it's not there. So you get reporting, you get KPI tracking, you get a single driver for all your print times, and you get a GUI across all the printers, I think.
Which printers do you use?
Oh, here I needed René,
Okay.
the guy who's in charge of the prints. René Milsted should be here.
So you don't remember what printers you have, but you have
Canon.
someone who. So if someone's interested, like in what is actually in the solution, in like more of the technical level of things.
Yeah. It's got drawers with different papers in, and you can scan, and you can do all the stuff in these printers.
But if there's particular interest, I guess one can reach out to you and ask. Or
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I can find out.
Doesn't matter, but it's a nice thing because Systems is totally hardware independent. You don't have to care about what kind of printer we use.
Yeah.
It's a really one
Yeah, because we actually changed the printer, and
the common, but you don't have to care about
and
it.
it's just kept working.
you don't realize you changed.
Nope.
Could you hear the comment in the back? No. Okay. Well, so the point was like when you use the system, you don't have to care about the printers, and Elise obviously
I don't
doesn't,
care
and
about
it works well.
As
So
long as
it
it
does
works.
implement all that functionality we also saw in some of the demos yesterday, where it
Yeah.
will discover the features and make it all available. Then this last bit here, it's just, I know it just looks like a single line on the list, but can you talk a little bit about what is? Does anyone in here not know what DORA is? Okay, that's a significant. So then it might be worth just assigning giving a little bit of description to that. Should I try to do a speed run, or do you want to talk to DORA?
No, you can talk to Dora and I can fill in.
All right. So, as you are probably aware, the security situation for Europe generally has changed over the last couple of years. There's also been a significant uptick in cyber threats and cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure. So we're seeing the European Union take some steps to actually improve the stance of Europe from a cybersecurity perspective, but also from a society stability perspective. And one of the things that the European Central Bank started doing was running stress tests against banks. They were putting them into a scenario, going, sit down, now you have a war room, this happened to your data, what do you do? And run those exercises and see if the banks actually have a good plan for how to recover from various scenarios. So that has been some initiatives that has been running mostly in terms of discovery and education for the banks. But we also have a set of regulations coming out. So there are a few things coming out. There's a thing coming out in
I think the
September
easiest
this
way
year, which is NIS2.
Yeah, but the easiest way to say what DORA is you got GDPR. Everybody in the room knows what GDPR is. Or anyone doesn't know? No. So this GDPR is for the people. It's taking care of all our data. But DORA is more on the IT part.
Yeah, but it requires a bank. The reason is financial systems are critical infrastructure, critical for the workings of society. So therefore, if you are a financial institution and you're deemed to be important, you have to showcase that you can recover from a ransomware attack, that you have a functional disaster failover scenario, that you have implemented security controls to avoid people just being able to destroy your data from the inside. So and all those requirements are being implemented, but they're also driving responsibility to senior management in these companies. So it is a very, very high attention piece of legislation, and it will come into full effect on 17th of January next year. So it's very much kind of an incoming.
We need to show what we have intended to do.
True.
In January 25. But it is the IT part that's coming now.
Mm-hmm. And what is the CER?
I got no clue. You put that one on.
That's essentially the non-financial component to that. So there is a second piece of legislation coming out for other services, for water supplies, for electricity companies, for anything where communication companies. There's going to be a lot of companies that will have to suddenly start documenting to a way higher extent than they used to, what exactly they are doing and how they are improving what they have to be able to protect against some scenarios. But ultimately, I think you're right that you could argue that a lot of this should just be good IT practices already. There's just a lot of attention on it, and it becomes a prereq to do business in this space here. This one is mostly there for reference in case the slides are being handed out. So can I black out the screen for a second? I don't know how to do that. I can. Wonderful. So anything else that we missed that you feel that we should be talking about in terms of your project and your experience of working with?
No, there's still a lot of work to do, but the print is there, and I think that we need to some of the modules we need to replace, and I would like to replace them before the end of this year, because some of the modules that we took in was the old one, and Jan has promised me that we are going to look into some of the new ones. So we will give our demands, and we will see what we can do. So we will modernize it a little bit more, because it was quick and a little bit dirty when we.
So there's some more stuff to be done to get more of your process.
And this is another problem, saying, oh, it's working, why do you want to fix it? I want to fix it so I'm sure that it keeps working for the next 10, 20, 25 years.
So I want to talk a little bit, I mean, we kind of mentioned it in the beginning, like the energy focus. So ESG, you may have encountered that, like this requirements on reporting for companies in terms of what is their CO2 footprint and what are they doing about it. Is that something that is high attention in Topdanmark at the moment? Or?
It is because I know I said we print a lot, but we actually print less with this solution because you can delete it. You don't throw it away, you can delete it before you print it, or you can just leave it and then after a week the system will delete it itself. So it's very good. So we are reducing our paper use.
Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about, you were also, the printing is a good showcase inside your company to say, what can we do with Linux on the platform?
Yeah, it is. And right now I'm trying to see what more can I put on my Linux, because the mainframe is just a server. So right now we have installed Python, and we're going to see what can we do with AI and Python on the Linux side, because it's cheap. And that little machine you saw there is running 80% of our core system and all of our print, no matter which platform you are on. So it doesn't take a lot of space. It doesn't take a lot of electricity. So the footprint of this little monster is really, really good.
And one of the things that is interesting, this is a little bit more on the infrastructure platform side of things, but this is actually becoming an interesting conversation to have also outside of IT when you go talk to the ESG reporting officer, or whoever is responsible for the ESG reporting. Interestingly, a lot of companies, they had some really good CO2 reduction goals. So if you measure from 2019 or 2020 and 4 years forward, a lot of companies managed to reduce their CO2 by 30-40%, mostly because no one traveled. It's a very easy metric to hit. IT generally doesn't really contribute to a reduction of CO2. And that's not because people are not great at running IT. It's just the fact that when you have a bunch of workloads, and then you grow typically 15-20% every year in terms of compute requirements, and then every generation you will get a 15-20% improvement in versus power versus compute. And so ultimately that kind of evens out. That means IT is not able typically to contribute positively to the CO2 piece. You can do things, if you have one of these machines in-house, you can actually do things. And this is
I'm convinced
typical workload.
Yeah.
This is something that we've done in many, many different benchmarks, just measuring, taking customers' existing workloads, putting them onto the platform, and seeing what is then the impact, what is the energy consumption, what is the consolidation ratios.
But I'm sure that if we take this solution, the print solution, and put that on a normal x86, then there will be a lot of problems. It will not run, not because of the application, the software, but because of the hardware. It needs to reboot, it needs to be patched, it needs to everything.
Yeah, so everything we can consolidate. I mean, again, this gets into a bit more complicated because, again, if you're not using the Windows spool system, you're using the seal systems, that you do have significantly better availability than that general image on x86. But when we look at x86 workloads in general, we've done customer cases here where we're looking at 10,000 cores that we can run on a few hundred cores, right? So taking a 90% reduction of energy and an average of about almost 50% on the TCO, those are massive changes. There's a lot of Oracle on here, but there is also a lot of Java, and everything that it says Oracle here could as well be any other database. Could be IBM DB2, it could be Postgres, whatever you want to put in there. So there are some good opportunities to leverage the platform to do more things.
Yeah.
So the next, how long time do we have? 5 minutes, perfect. This is the second to last slide. Yeah. So what next?
Next, right up, because 25 is just across the, yeah, it's very near. So DORA is top of our minds. We also need some more protection, so we are looking into HyperProtect to make sure that all the stuff that we are doing outside the mainframe but has a way into the mainframe, we need to protect that. So we are actually, with our security CISO, looking into a conversation about can we use hyperprotect and how do we do that to make sure that we are safe.
And then it sounds like there's also more work to be done with the seal systems to figure out whether you can do more clever things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that come after.
All right. We are nearing the end. This is the wrap-up slide, more or less. I don't know why we don't have a picture of Jan. I think that is an oversight on my part. We should have put a pic. Jan doesn't look like this in real life. Yeah, I think we'll make a new version of this where we have the contact details in case you want to write and ask any questions.
Yes,
Any questions to this session so far?
We still have a few minutes left. Sven?
If not, we'll just like slow-mo the last slide. No.
So no
Okay.
questions? Okay. Everything was clear, well explained. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still have something. I was told there is still something for you.
Oh.
Ooh.
I knew. Know all the parts for seal systems. Oh,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.